The local real estate market is rebalancing. What does that mean for Almaden Valley? Well, stay tuned. Hi, I'm Theresa Wellman, your San Jose realtor who lives in Almaden Valley, and today we're talking about the real estate market and the changes that are happening. Interest rates are way up since the beginning of the year. Inventory is rising. Sales are settling. So what is really going on? Well, let's look at the actual data and stats and talk about what I'm seeing in the field so you know what's actually going on and where the market is headed. So here on our first slide, let's talk about the facts. So pending sales are lower, that's this blue dotted line, than a year ago. Look at that. Looked like we've peaked and it was nowhere near the peak of last year. We are also down from the previous month. Like I said, maybe a peak. Closed sales are way down. Look at these green lines versus last year or even 2020. We've seen less sales happening. And supply, well, it was on its way up, but it actually dipped down, which is interesting. And so it's still relatively low compared to several years in the past of Almaden history. But you know what? There are 12 members only coming soon properties that are going to be hitting the market soon. And with the numbers of inventory we have in Almaden Valley, that's a pretty significant number because we're sitting in the mid 20s right now. So 12 more is a 50% increase. That's pretty big deal. And look at the price gains that we've had over the last 6 months or so. Huge gains. I can't believe the gains we've seen. And that trajectory, this dotted line, which is the 6-month moving average, has just been up, up, up. And if you again look at that, generally it's been slow and steady. We had a pretty good up in 2017, but a recovery adjustment in 2018. And then pretty steady until these pandemic years, the values have just really gone up. So where are we headed? Let's look at year-over-year data. The median price is all the way up to $2.5 million. That's up 25% from last year. The rest of San Jose is only up 17% year-over-year. So Almaden is really benefited by a huge growth in the prices in our area, definitely more than typical for San Jose. There are 63% of homes are in contract. Again, that's a higher stat than San Jose. And it's actually up from last month, which is pretty significant. And the amount overbid for the closed sales has shrunk down to even less than we saw a year ago, but still really significant, 11% over the asking price. I can tell you that's not going to be as strong next month. No way. There are currently 23 days of inventory, which is another factor that makes Almaden stand out because a lot of areas San Jose are actually starting to see a huge increase in this and are going to see more so. I don't know if Almaden, how much it's going to change, but I can tell you, for example, Evergreen has 43 days of inventory. All of San Jose is up to a whole month of inventory, and Willow Glen is over 30 days of inventory. So there are a couple areas that are really not doing as well as Almaden Valley, that's for sure. We've had 34 closed sales, which was the same as last month, but that's actually down 30% like we saw in those green bars from last year. And the pending sales are also down from last year. I really want you to know that a lot of buyers are feeling this price pressure and are getting priced out of the area, which is why we see the number of pending and closed sales decreasing, I believe. So stay tuned because I'm going to talk a little bit more about what I'm seeing out in the fields that are some leading indicators of the market. But let's look here about interest rates. Buyers are really feeling affordability issues. Did you know that interest rates have increased over 2% since January, which means buyers are feeling a 20% decrease in their purchase price. What? That's huge. Just this past weekend, I was at an open house and a buyer walked in and said, well, I used to be a $2 million buyer. Today I'm a 1.6 buyer. It is truly being felt by these buyers if they've been searching for just the last few months. They've really felt that pressure and are a little bit frustrated and extra picky because what they thought they could have gotten just a few months ago is no longer available, and they're picky about the quality and the price and the area that they're buying because they're really feeling that just a hard change in such a quick amount of time. We expect 2022 to end somewhere in the 6+% range. So it's only going to get worse in the interest rate. But this is healthy way, and our market is rebalancing to a more healthy economy. Those 2 and low 3% were unnatural because of the pandemic. The government was keeping it down. What is coming? Well, let's compare here with San Jose. I mentioned a couple things. That it's only up 17% year over year, but you see San Jose is already peaked and the market is changing. And inventory continues to spike up way over what they saw anywhere in the whole pandemic. Almaden Valley section of San Jose, not quite as extreme. So what is coming? I do expect supply to continue to increase, even though it dipped this last month. Like I mentioned, there are 12 coming soon already showing on the agent MLS, and I'm sure there's even more that aren't posted on that yet. The demand is definitely getting lower, and it's gonna stay that way because of the affordability and because of the time of year. So that is just something to be aware of. And what I'm seeing out in the field is 1 to 2 offers on the properties. We were seeing 5, 6, 10 plus earlier in the year. We just don't have that, partially because there's a little bit more inventory, partially because of affordability. Buyers have had to move off to other areas. And buyers are really looking for move-in, clean, repair-free homes. They're not wanting to see a whole bunch of work needing to be done to move into a house anymore. They're being picky, and they're going to be negotiating. You'll see more contingencies are coming back. So definitely there is a sense of change. It's not such a strong seller's market anymore. It's a little bit more of a neutral feeling market. So I've highlighted here 3 areas in yellow, and this is capturing the April, May, June market for several years of Almaden Valley. As you can see, last year was really strong. I removed the pandemic because that was a weird transition time, that April, May, June. But if you look back to 2019, we're doing maybe a tad better than 2019, but not a lot better. I think we're back to a more typical cycle of the market. So next, definitely watch 5 home buyer mistakes that you should never make so that you'll be prepared if you're buying, or check out the full San Jose market update to get a feel of what's going on in our local real estate market. Thanks for watching.